Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. The topic of this 10-minute moan is quite a distasteful topic, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Excuse me. It's about a SNP guy who worked quite a high position for them, who's been jailed for sexually assaulting young adults. I mean, it says young adults. It doesn't say young men or young females because he sexually assaulted both. And the headline in the Daily Record, now this piece and article has been covered by a lot of the mainstream, but their headline is SNP activist who wanted to beat feminists, jailed for sexually assaulting young adults. Now, by definition, you'd imagine a feminist would be describing someone who is a female. So this guy who wanted to beat females also sexually assaulted young adults of both sexes. Cameron Downing preyed on his victims at locations across Scotland and repeatedly blackmailed one of his victims. A former SNP activist who once tweeted he wanted to beat the fuck out of feminists has been jailed for sexually assaulting 6 young adults. Cameron Downing, 24, preyed on his victims at locations across Scotland during a course of conduct which began when he was just 16 years old. The High Court in Edinburgh heard how the abuse continued until February 2023. Police learned about his activities and launched a probe, but the court heard that during the probe, officers discovered how Downing repeatedly blackmailed one of the men he preyed on. He told his victim that if he didn't engage in sexual activity with him, he'd make an allegation to the police about how he had been raped by the man. The witness told the court that Downing said he'd also contact his family, friends and employer and make the false rape allegation. The man, who is now aged 22, gave evidence and said he felt trapped by Downing's threat. Downing, a former drama student and an equalities convener for the SNP's London branch, spent his trial denying any wrongdoing. An equalities convener, none less, for the SNP. Now, here we go. Downing, who told the jury in his evidence that they identified as being non-binary, said he hadn't been threatening the male and was battling complex mental health issues at the time of the abuse. But on Friday afternoon, after 2 days of deliberations, jurors found Downing of Willowbrae, Edinburgh, guilty on charges of sexual and physical assault. Defence advocate Michael Meehan KC said his client was a first offender and asked for Downing, whose pronouns are he and they, for bail ahead of sentencing hearing next month. But Judge Alison Stirling remanded Downing in custody and told him, your status has changed. I will adjourn sentence to obtain a criminal justice social report and you will be remanded in custody. It's not the first time that Downing has come to public attention. He's a former drama student who has acted in Edinburgh Fringe productions. He also worked as an NHS contact tracer during the pandemic. In 2022, it emerged that Downing tweeted about he wanted to beat the fuck out of some TERFs and transphobes. He also tweeted, I fucking hate TERFs and transphobes with such a passion. The tweets caused Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling to say Nicola Sturgeon's Scotland, a place where an equalities officer feels free to declare in public how much he wants to beat up non-compliant women. I kind of agree with that sentiment, J.K. Rowling. The comments made by Downing came to light after he'd been elected as equalities officer for the SNP's London branch in October 2022. Now this is a bit bizarre. So it doesn't really state when they were, but two things might happen. They've let him be this equalities officer with those things on his social media, or it's happened since they employed him. Either way, it's not got a good look on it. He later resigned from the post. A photograph also emerged of Downing posing with former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon at the SNP conference in Aberdeen. The remarks made by Downing prompted SNP MP Joanna Cherry, a gender-critical feminist who herself has been called a transphobe for her position on sex and gender, to condemn the remarks. She said the remarks were foul and violent and accused Downing of being misogynistic. During proceedings, jurors were played a video recording of the evidence given by 22-year-old victim who was blackmailed by Downing. He told the court how he and Downing had consensual sex, but this stopped. The man, who cannot be identified for legal reasons, told the court that Downing's reaction to this decision terrified him. The court heard that Downing threatened the man by telling him that if he didn't change his mind, he would tell the police of how the victim raped him. Downing said he had messages from the man that proved that he had sexually assaulted him. He added, "I felt trapped. I shouldn't have let it get to that point." He said that he would ruin my life. He said he would use them to put me behind bars. He was going to tell my friends and family that I was a rapist and I had done something wrong. The jury was also shown messages that Downing sent to the victim. One message read, "I don't care if you're not ready to make yourself ready." Another message read how Downing wanted his victim to continue having sex with him. It read, "You should want that with all your fucking being, because the alternative is losing me from your life and most likely facing a court case for raping me." One woman who was targeted by Downing spoke of how Downing was a bit of a loaded gun who could get personal and nasty with people. Speaking about the abuse she suffered, the witness added, "He would touch me inappropriately, like groping. It was mostly my breasts that he would touch, maybe some groping elsewhere. A lot of it I have filtered out." It's quite normal for people that have been abused to try to put it in bits of their brain that they're never going to memorise it. The woman, now aged 24, said she attended a New Year party in January 2018, that's when she was 18, at a friend's home when she was still a teenager, and Downing was among those present. She said Downing came up to her and told her a boy had said he thought she was hot until she discovered food. That's pretty shocking. She said, "It devastated me because I had quite a few body issues. I got quite upset about the comment. I drank far too much and got quite drunk. I started to feel really sick." She said Downing told her he could help her to an upstairs bathroom and she ended up being sick. She said, "I am sure Cameron said to me I need to go for a shower. After that, I don't really remember anything. All I remember is how my friends found me and I had bruises." She said she remembered pieces, including Dowling telling her she had to take her clothes off and her dress being taken off. She later woke up in bed and Downing came into the room and she said, "Snarled in my face, everything was my fault and he had to leave now because of me." The following day she noticed she was covered in bruises and said it was like I had been battered. She said, "I had bruises that looked like they came from Cameron." She said they were marks on her arms and looked like indents because of fake nails. She said she spoke to Downing via Snapchat, but said he started getting very personal about my mental health and told her they were gay and wouldn't want to look at your saggy tits anyway. She said she did not speak to Downing for a long time afterward, but later met him at an Edinburgh club where he came up to her and said they were bi now and asked to have sex with her. Following conviction, Downing was placed in handcuffs and taken to the cells of the High Court. He turned to family members who sat in the court's public benches and said, "I love you." Downing will be sentenced at the High Court on the 16th of July. Now, there lies another question. He's not been released from jail until sentencing, so he'll be put in a proper jail until, I'd imagine, after that. I wonder where exactly they would house this man who identifies as bi, because I guarantee folk like him will pull every stroke in the book. Now, this isn't the first instance where somebody has had quite a decent job, you know, the qualities manager basically for the SNP, you know, having such sordid tales. And I just don't understand. I understand how people like this get into positions in society because they all need to work, etc. But one thing I can't get my nap around is that how many of them actually get end up in an organisation which seems to have a higher proportion of people like this than you would expect. And it just beggars belief. The equalities guy for the SNP is accused and found guilty and awaiting sentence for sexually assaulting 6 young adults. Now, I can't make really aspersions about other things, but it's only 6 that he's been taken to court with. There may be others. There may be folk who haven't reported crimes. But this sort of predatory behaviour is absolutely disgusting. And it's a sort of people who want to ram the trans issue down your throat and call people TERFs and want to smash and really, really hit feminists, etc. It became the acceptable type of behaviour and terminology used in certain groups like this and like green activists and stuff like that. And it really, really is quite a bad indication of how these organisations operate when such terminology and actions are seen as acceptable to employees. Because if I worked for someone who really had tight morals and standards, I wouldn't act in any way that would potentially affect my position within that organisation. So you get to know your sort of workplace environment and what your organisation that you work for, what they accept. And when you see this sort of behaviour, particularly on social media, when people have, lost jobs for social media posts previously, then it tells me all I need to know about the workplace environment this man worked in, and many others like him. It's disgusting, and I wish the victims of this man, the 6 who, now at least get a guilty verdict for the actions against them, and I also wish any potential other victims of this man, this predatory man, all the best in the future. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please hit subscribe. And unless you're the SNP, this sort of guy that wants to call people TERFs and cause them actual bodily harm, and anybody else in that sort of thinking. See everybody else in the world. Have a great day. Cheery bye now.